I gotta look something up before we start.
Continuity.
State your goddamn business. Let me look this. I got one thing to look up at least.
Hat rotation.
Yeah. Hat rotation going on here. Or I can do it like Wyatt Earp's brother does. Just sit it on top of your head.
Yeah.
Just barely
I can't do that
on your hair.
All these hats are too big because they'll fit my giant noggin.
Yeah, you hand me the silly hat.
I believe it's called the Tribly.
This is Wyatt Earp's brother.
Yeah.
It's just like it's not there.
No.
It doesn't even fit.
What was his name?
Morgan.
Morgan Earp.
I almost said Seamus.
Seamus Earp.
Seamus Earp.
Welcome to another episode of
Seamus
Anyways. Today we were talking about Leviathan Smiles, which is the 8th episode of season 3 of Deadwood, in which the Earps come to town and Pinkertons show up in force.
Looks like the Earps are coming to town.
Yeah. And we were just
Earps
talking
poppin'.
about how silly Morgan Earp, the younger Earp, looks.
Yeah. Who was
Looks like
who played him in Tombstone? Was that
Bill Paxton.
Bill Paxton, I figured.
Very
yeah.
dignified. This version is...
He's a little bit more rambunctious.
He kind of looks like he belongs in the movie Young Guns.
Yeah.
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 Well, I like his swagger. I think he's more interesting of the two Earps for
Sure.
being like full of it.
Yeah.
You know, he's like leaving stuff all over Bullock's hardware store, trying to get a fuck for free from Jen at the gym, and just generally being a rascal.
What a guy.
And he wants to just like kill Bullock for no reason,
Yeah.
just in the street, and Bullock backs down. It's great.
Well, and you get the sense, like, even if that was part of their game kind of thing, Wyatt said the kid brother makes a hero out of me. So, you get the sense that maybe he kind of overassesses their importance and ability to get out of scrapes and thinks that they're kind of untouchable.
Yeah, and
like young men do.
Yeah. There's in like this. I was reading a very depressing David Milch interview today about his Alzheimer's. During the course of filming this, we've learned that he has Alzheimer's.
Spoilers.
And
Spoiler alert.
basically, he talked about how the capacity to sense danger has not formed in the brain of a 22-year-old, and I think that's sort of what this is.
Yeah.
Like, and Wyatt over the course of the show of this episode, he slowly seems to become more like the historical Wyatt. He starts out, he's like ready to kill Bullock because Bullock his posture is kind of like on his gun.
Yeah.
So they both have their gun. It's so embarrassing almost from our perspective of like watching Bullock beat up people and kind of cheering him on usually.
Yeah.
To see him like back down from another recognized gunslinger.
Well, like right at the beginning of the episode when he's fighting with Martha, and then he goes out into the thoroughfare, sees Saul, and then starts to kind of pick a verbal fight with him. And then Saul's just says like,
Do you want to fight?
You want to fight? Is that gonna make you feel better?
Yeah.
And then I think that kind of sticks with him for the rest of the episode, where he's like, "Oh, I'm like overreacting to things."
Yeah.
We first see Bullock this episode. He's yelling at Martha. Like finally, their relationship has like a little bit of like blood in it. He's like, she's calling him out on being angry at her because he's worried about the publication of the Pasco's letter, or the letter to Pasco's family, and there's this nice moment where he's walking away from her after yelling at her, and she's like, we went to bed without your customary sweetness, which is like her character is always about noting sex they did not have in the morning or sex they would have had, and these like bundling board sugar references. She's like, they're really a weird couple. But there's a nice moment where he's walking and his head is framed in a little window, and he's like, oh yeah, I'm yelling at her for no fucking reason.
Yeah.
And he's like, please forgive me, and leaves.
Their relationship is so strange, just in the fact that they haven't really talked about it.
It's getting better
in a while. I mean, like, in the fact that like everybody who's watching this is like, oh, him and Alma are supposed to be together, and not those two. And then like now it's like not even addressed. I mean, like every once in a while the Ellsworth thing will crop up, and you kind of are like reminded of it, but isn't really necessarily a part of the conversation even.
It's been a little while since Bullock and Alma have been in the same room and have stared longingly at each other.
Right.
We need another 400 of those.
Yeah.
But Martha and
but just basically they're not gonna. I guess they're probably just not gonna solve anything with that in this third season.
You know, I don't think it's a spoiler to say historically Bullock was married to a woman named Martha.
Sure.
Martha, you know.
But they're not even like trying to wrap it up or do anything with it, which I guess is smart if you think you're going to have a 4th season.
Yeah, which they thought, which they had insurances. They thought they were going to have his 4th season.
Sure.
And so some of the plot threads they set up, they're like, we'll get to those next year.
Sure.
'Cause we got to deal with HBO. I think they had good reason. Just the leadership at HBO changed. But Martha and Seth Bullock's marriage looks like hell. Like I don't even want to be around them. They freak me out.
You're right.
Like they're just like unhappy. I mean, at least he's like yelling at her. At least she's included in his world now.
Sure.
He must like her.
They have a relationship.
He's not all stiff and cordial about everything anymore. He's kind of letting his guard down a little bit, and so is she. So they're acting more human around each other.
Sure.
And
so they're having disagreements.
A few episodes ago, there's this nice little moment where she's like, "You could just tell me to make the tea stronger."
Yeah.
And he's like, "Make the tea stronger." You know, like he just and like that. Slowly over time, they're humans. But like last season, they were just like sitting in those chairs facing the wall and holding hands, and that was like. It just, I can't imagine that either of them getting anything out of the relationship except for the sex that they always are referring to.
Customary sweetness.
Yeah. Just at the end of the last episode, we were talking. Morgan Earp.
Yeah.
Morgan Earp. You just gotta smile all the time. Like always be
you gotta
drawing your gun.
Well, you gotta have like some hair sticking out.
Oh yeah. I just got a haircut.
And it's refreshing. Because the Earps are pretty much Kurt Russell's what we think of when we think of the modern cinematic portrayal of Wyatt Earp.
The modern Earp.
And he's very dignified, and he's all about doing the right thing and saving the people. And these Earps are barely just like the real Bullock and just like the real Earps. They're sometimes we're a marshal and sometimes we're doing some shit or like Wild Bill Hickok. They're pretty shady dudes who are good with guns.
Well, the whole like systematic execution of every member of the Cowboys gang, that was kind of.
You mean like the
morally dubious?
The OK Corral thing, or
the thing in Tombstone that happened.
Y'all have me at a disadvantage. I don't know nothing about that.
Oh, okay.
Well,
that's a good movie.
Well, the OK Corral is a very popular shootout. And
Sure.
I think that version like has like technically like the most realistic gunplay or something. But there's a wonderful movie, not wonderful, it's actually kind of crappy movie from the 70s called Doc, where Stacy Keach plays Doc Holliday. And it's all the whole fun is it's the 70s and they're like, let's do the Earps, Wyatt Earp's story, shoot out the OK Corral, but let's have the Wyatt Earps be the bad guys. And so it's basically they just kill the Ike Clanton's game like you said, and I'm sure the truth is somewhere in between. But like this is a very bizarre rendition of them because it's neither. They've come in saying they're heroes. They've tricked the town of Deadwood. They've come up with a deal with the bank Teamsters to pretend that they were attacked by road agents. But Bullock and Swearingen know it's false because they have a deal where road agents only attack people under Swearingen's deal.
Oh, wait. We're back to Deadwood.
We're back. Yeah.
Okay, I was confused for a second. I was like, wait, they're all in
this
the movie?
version? Yeah. This the version that we're seeing.
The
in
Marvel
the show.
Cinematic Universe.
Yeah.
Concerns Thanos. Anyway, to say it in a less incomprehensible manner, they come to town riding on bullshit in order to sell themselves so they can get free pussy at the gym and get better stuff with their timber lease,
which we're familiar with.
Yeah, people do that.
That happened.
That was the very first episode.
Yeah,
the guy rides into town.
Poor girl.
Yeah,
so you were worried like this family got massacred up there.
Yeah. Now can I get some free
I
pussy?
need a drink.
and Swearingen and Seth smell bullshit.
Sure.
And they also know that road agents wouldn't dare to lift a finger under Swearingen's control.
Yeah.
But
so weird that everyone's cool with that now.
The Earps are weird. Like I don't. The Earps are okay. Like it's just like they're here. They showed up. It's like this television series is checking off. Like look, and they did historically.
Yeah.
They were in Deadwood.
Who was all here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there's so many other people they could do Teddy Roosevelt.
Yeah.
You know, and like
that'd be much later though, wouldn't it?
It would be much later. But
like 10 years later.
Oh, I don't know.
I don't know if they. There are many exciting things in Deadwood history.
I don't know the exact dates. So.
Boone May is another gunslinger, and Ambrose Bierce. There are really interesting people who were in Deadwood. I forgot to silence mine as
I
well.
don't know nothing about no fancy
Sorry.
telephones.
But like there are a lot of interesting characters in Deadwood. Boone May and Ambrose Bierce, and that they chose the Earps is understandable. They chose the Earps, but it's just like it really feels like just like a dutiful. This happened, so let's just have it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not really into their characters
Yeah.
or anything. Like initially, I don't know. Maybe they do more with them,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's like Kristen Bell 2.0.
Yeah. Well, no, Kristen Bell, that was like shocking.
Yeah, I know.
No, yeah,
but when
but
she
they've
rode
already-
into town, it's like, oh, here's some new people.
But they've already kind of done, like we were just saying, some of this stuff, like them riding into town looking for free pussy. and
Right.
stuff,
So
or
as someone
faking a
watching
thing.
the show with all these big stakes going on, it's
Yeah.
like, oh god, here's
Oh,
another thing to
yeah, that they're
little
kind of,
side thing.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing we talked about last episode, we talked about how there's no visual element of the Pinkertons. We have all this build up for the Pinkertons.
Oof.
This episode ended with exactly what you were asking for.
Yes.
Flaming Pinkertons.
Yeah, flaming Pinkerton.
They're riding into town with torches and
Yeah.
25 bricks,
Yep.
as requested for Hearst.
Look at all them breaks.
Yeah.
Man, look at all them bricks.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was Hearst got had a chiropractic exorcism.
Brian Cox pressed down on his spine and absorbed
But
this.
he absorbed
the
the
spirits.
bad thetans.
Yeah. With just a random Austrian woman saying yes.
Yes.
And
She had to oversee it. That's where he learned it from 15
Right.
years ago.
and that subplot is again like, why does he immediately step onto the balcony and give up the fact that he knows Swearingen?
I think Langrish does not give two shits about what's going on
Well-
with Hearst. He's
Well, I
good.
think when I was sitting there watching it, I was thinking like he knows Hearst is over there and he's going to see him, and he doesn't want it to be like this thing where he's like, oh, he happens to know Swearingen, so
Like
he
it's a
like
secret
so
thing?
he like blares it out to everybody to be
Right,
like,
yeah, yeah.
look, this isn't a secret. We're old friends. Like,
Yeah,
who gives
yeah.
a shit? I'm not trying anything.
And that also makes him seem a little more innocent in it. You
Yeah,
know, as
exactly.
as far as not having nefarious.
Exactly.
It's like we just happened to we met each other and I helped you with your back.
Uh-huh.
I've known him for years.
Yep.
I don't know what you guys got going on.
Exactly.
But hey.
Yep.
And also, apparently, they just use a speaking voice to talk across the thoroughfare. Like they're just like.
Well, except for Brian Cox.
Yeah.
Brian Cox screams everything in his most theatrical voice, and it's amazing. But then,
But
the
Swearingen
two,
and Hearst are like, hey, hey.
that's how they talk to each other, kind of like this.
Have they already done the how's your finger?
Ooh,
I think I already did that. And
I think so.
Hey?
Okay.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
When we get to the end of it, I'll talk about it because we surely would have seen it by then.
Okay.
I think so. But
I'm not exactly sure what exactly happens.
Turn away and cover your ears.
Like, I mean, who is the person who's doing
Ba-
that?
ba- ba-
When Hearst sees him across the thoroughfare and goes, "How's your ear?" And then Bullock says,
Oh yeah, yeah.
"How's your fucking ear?"
Yeah,
Okay,
that
we
has
have it.
happened. That's
Okay,
What?
yeah, you
Oh, I
saw it. You said it's when Hearst says, "How's the finger?"
Oh, okay.
And then Bullock says, "How's the fucking ear?" or something
yeah.
back at him.
Yeah.
It reminded me of that encounter.
All I heard was Hearst, and then really loud.
Yeah.
So
We're protecting you from spoilers.
good.
We have your
Spoilers
best
from a
interest in
previous
heart.
episode.
I've already been spoiled once.
Let's see what else happens in this episode.
Well, Steve's drunk.
Oh yeah, Steve the drunk. We finally get the. He finally.
He doesn't want Fields to leave.
He doesn't, and I think you find out too that it's like he's super insecure about like not being as good at math as Hostetler was, and so it's like the pressure of like having like taken on this responsibility out of like spite,
Yeah.
and now he's like, I don't know how I'm gonna do it though. I need someone to kind of hold my hand through this.
And I like General Fields' response, which is just to basically ignore him.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like he's like sleeping in his place, and then Steve just goes on like rants, and those rants like veer from like, you could maybe stay on to like just like
So,
very.
say I did put your name on the sign.
It's
Yeah.
very, very hilarious conversations where it's almost like, Steve thinks that these are some sort of negotiating tactics
Yeah.
by Fields, and
Yeah.
he's just like, I just don't want to talk to you, dude. I don't like
Yeah.
you. And he's like, what?
I got
what?"
errands to run, and then
and-
I'm going to where's he going?
He's going to San Francisco.
San
right?
Francisco, yeah.
And we were joking while we were watching it, where it was like, if it went on long enough, he would be like, "Fine, it's fucking yours. I don't care.
Well, how much your store? And
just
I'll
please-
sign your fucking boots for you.
Is that what you fucking want? Here I am, I'm
No,
down
it doesn't change
here signing your fucking boots. Is this everything you wanted?"
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what it would have
Yeah.
ended up being, but instead,
But then tragedy struck.
he essentially does the thing where you take the starter out of the car, so that somebody
Yeah.
can't leave.
I was gonna say hide keys, but yeah.
He tries to
You take the shoes off the horse.
take the shoes off the backside of the horse.
Unshod? I don't know what the word is.
Yeah, I think that's what he said. But and you could kind of see where it was going because he gets kind of
Too
shuffled
close.
off once.
Yeah, yeah.
And then when they come back, it's like, "Oh, you fucking drunk son of a bitch!" And then he's
laying there
like,
cross-eyed. Yeah.
and he's gone.
Yeah.
And there's an interesting sort of journey with General Fields with hating him for it.
Mm-hmm.
Finally venting on him for killing his friend or getting his friend killed.
And giving
Yeah.
him some of that Hostetler money
Yeah,
that
yeah.
he got to give to the doc to be like, see to his fucking care and then his goddamn
Because
burial.
I can't be held responsible for this.
And I'm getting the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
Tell
No
the-
way.
Tell the bank
No
it ain't
way.
gonna get repaid.
Yeah, yeah. Am I gonna get weighed down by this guy?
Yeah,
you know?
exactly.
General Fields starts like taking. I think Jane has prepared oatmeal to feed to a comatose Steve, and
Yeah.
just starts flicking it on his face.
And
Calling
yet
them
another
cocksuckers
reference to Hook,
Yeah.
Yep.
except that he's not throwing imaginary food at him.
Oh.
But Jane and Joni have some interesting stuff, but they only do it for like a second in this
Yeah.
episode. But when she wakes up in Joni's room,
The walk of shame.
yep, and is like, "Oh, you can." She's like, "You can just stay here." She's, no, I got errands to run. She ain't fucking nothing to do,
Right, yeah. She's got to go find an alleyway to lay down and
drink
get
in.
drunk in.
And so, but when they go downstairs, Shaughnessy, right? It's his name.
Mm-hmm.
Shaughnessy shames them for
With a Bible verse that is also printed out on a placard,
Yeah,
which he's
he's
holding.
written it with chalk or something. Oh, no, is it actually carved in?
I don't know. It's like he has different Bible verses posted around his office, and he just is reading the Romans that is against women lying with each other.
yeah,
And he's
and shames them, and then Jane says that she's gonna shove a fist up his ass
In this exact moment.
in this same moment, and she starts to walk away, and Joni's kind of trying to be like, "Jane, you don't have to leave." She's like, "Nope,
Yep.
I got to get out of here because somebody's shamed me for feeling the way I want to feel," and it's like, oh, this is sad.
well, I mean, it
Yeah.
started even before they ran to Shaughnessy. Like,
Sure, she felt
She's
shame the morning
protesting
after,
the-
or
yeah,
whatever.
she seems to have a lot of like internalized hatred.
Yeah.
For just sleeping or kissing a girl, and
Right.
she's like there. What Joni says to her is like a repetition of what she initially said to Jane, which was like, why don't you just stay? When she first invited her to stay. When Jane, again, had nothing to offer except being barely able to stand.
Right.
But just was a friend or someone who was around.
Mhm.
Anyway, it's just, I mean, and it's understandable that Jane would be full of self-hatred, but it's also just, it's kind of sad. to
And it's
see.
also too bad for Joni too, because then
Yeah.
it's like you feel shame for having shared something with me,
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
and it's like that makes me feel bad.
Right, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, Joni gets like,
The short end of the stick
Yeah,
constantly.
she does.
yeah, and she's
Too
just like
bad.
trying to take pride in like, being kind of involved with the schoolhouse where she has a garden. Someone actually likes her garden this time. Like it's
Yeah, like Greece.
Yeah.
Greece is like, oh, what a great garden.
Well, it was also kind of mirroring the first time that they met, and she was tending the garden, and then she blew up on him because she thought that he was talking about it being a whorehouse still.
Yeah,
Yeah,
wanting
yeah.
to get some stuff there.
Yeah, because while she was working in the garden, and I think he commented on the garden then too, or
Yeah.
something. But
Yeah. Steve there's a nice little point in Steve's rant where he says that we'll never be equal, sign or fucking no. And if I agreed to your name on the signage, we would know the fucking truth still. And I think it's some sort of reference to the fact that Steve's last name is Fields and General
yeah.
Fields' last name is Fields. And
Sure.
I assume Steve, since he served in the Civil War, has some sort of ranking,
sure,
but I'm sure that he's not a general.
sure.
Right,
And, Anyway.
Hearst was interesting this episode because we had two tangent storylines with Hearst going on, and they were tonally completely different.
Yeah.
And you had Hearst having back problems and being treated by Langrish.
And it being a big
And then
joke.
you had him being like scary with
Aunt Lou.
With Aunt Lou. And she comes to him wanting him to get that little garnet pendant
Right.
to her son.
Yeah.
But he left before she could.
And he's like, we can just mail it to New York. But she's basically trying like, what have you done with my son is basically what she's trying to say.
Yeah.
And he gives her no
And
reassurance.
he kind of just like rubs it in her face too.
Yeah,
Which
and-
he's want to do all the
Oh,
time.
sure.
Is
Because
get to the root of your insecurities and make you confront them.
Because like we said before, he likes people to be subservient to
Yeah.
him, all people.
Yeah.
And so he's not used to Aunt Lou being this way.
Yeah.
Towards-
asking things of him.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's
Like-
like at
yeah.
the end at the end of the scene where he's
like-
like, oh, thanks for taking care of the fucking boots, which I thought was the reason you came into the goddamn room in the first
Yeah,
place.
yeah,
you
yeah.
Except
know?
with none of those cuss words. Like, just like
But
very.
that's the
that's-
feeling that you
yeah.
get.
yeah.
From,
He has these
from hearing
drawn
him.
out. He says these polite
Reason
phrases,
I
but
thought
it's
you
like.
knocked. Yeah.
Yeah.
He
But
takes
he's-
like a little extra time to say each syllable. Maybe?
Yes,
I
or
don't-
some, it comes across very, very angry and
Yeah.
beyond
like you've
passive
wasted
aggressive.
my time.
Yeah,
With this request.
yeah,
And then like the meanness of that. Like even if he had nothing to do with it,
right.
you know, to like rub in her sort of fears about that. It's like, are you superstitious that way, Aunt Lou?
Yeah.
You know that you
That
think
you're-
that because you didn't get this to him, it is a bad omen,
And then I'm gonna kill your
and
son.
that something bad's
Cool,
gonna
because I
happen
want
to him.
to. I've
Yeah.
already admitted as much as that.
Mm-hmm.
God,
Yeah.
nightmare.
Yeah,
Um,
and then and immediately after that, it's like him laid butt ass naked on a table.
Yeah. We get to see Gerald McGraney's butt.
yeah.
And covered up by a cloth, and then have Brian Cox slowly not touch his back,
Just his coccyx.
just his coccyx,
Yeah,
but just, and then I think he's supposed to be transmuting the pain
I thought he was
into his
gonna
own back.
Yeah.
Pop it, but yeah,
that's-
he just like does a seance over his back.
Well, but I think also he's putting pressure on it, which is like the reason why it maybe actually
Yeah.
feels good for a second.
Yeah.
What's
to
weird?
him.
Yeah, what's weird about that is it felt like he was genuinely trying to help him until the end, where it felt like he was being a charlatan.
Yes.
Like, is he trying to mess with him?
I think he's reassuring us that he's human because he's given to like being taken in. Like, I mean,
Well, I think
Langrish?
also maybe
no,
it's-
Hearst.
I think also I don't know anything about what's going on after this, but it seems like maybe based on the conversation he has with Al later that he was kind of like setting up the fact that he's like, I've opened the door towards possibly like getting in good with Hearst, and then maybe I don't know do. I kept expecting like I don't know why because this wouldn't happen right now,
Like
but
nothing
but him
personal,
to just
kid.
be like and just snap his neck or something. But like that's
Yeah.
like the possibility
But
later.
the opening,
you know.
the trust.
Yeah,
thing.
exactly.
Yeah.
Once you can get behind him,
But
basically.
he blew it by stepping out on that balcony later. You know.
I
Right?
kind of thought Al was going to tell him,
Yeah, not to
don't
step out.
be like, don't come out here.
But as you
and,
read
like,
it,
look away from
he's
him.
saying, "I'm innocent
Exactly.
of your quarrel."
Right.
Yes.
That I am just this big dumb gullible theater man.
Right, exactly. That's I think that's how you're supposed to
who
read
is
it.
so like fun loving and oblivious that I can roll into this town and not be affected by any of the inner workings and goings on.
Yep.
You know.
Yeah. But I also, it connects with. I've always heard this about chiropractic is that there's a history of chiropractor not being like totally legit, and a lot of
Sure.
stuff where you just kind of, just stuff that isn't really. I may be talking shit about chiropractors, and I'm sorry if you're
Yeah.
a chiropractor.
But also if it's
I
not-
go to a chiropractor, so it's like
But if not
we're good.
practiced, if not practiced correctly, then you fuck your
Right,
back.
yeah.
You fuck your back
And Brian Cox's character is not a chiropractor.
No.
And if he actually
No,
did
yeah, yeah.
anything beyond just like, oh, taking the spirits out of your back, then
Yeah, yeah.
But
he
it's-
might fuck his back up
It
forever.
is tonally odd to go from Aunt Lou being threatened to
Yes.
that.
to like yeah.
And it's like, and it reassures me as a viewer, like, oh, Hearst is not a god. He's not capitalism incarnate.
Yeah.
He's just a dude who can be taken in by stupid shit.
Which is fine. I'm okay with that.
Yeah. He is equally a bad person and genuinely has back problems.
Yes.
Also, this episode we get the old theater guy Chesterton dies.
Finally passes.
And
I
I
didn't
found this.
understand a word he said right there at the end.
Well, he
He's
said
like because as he says he's like drowning in his own fluids.
Yeah,
no.
yeah.
He says line.
Lion.
He's
Yes.
an actor.
Yeah,
That's what he
They're
said.
on
Okay.
stage.
I
they're,
did hear that.
They're
yeah.
doing King Lear from memory,
Line.
and he says line, and then he says line again and dies. And so the joke
Oh, the
is
second time he says line again.
this
I
joke
heard the
is he's
first
an
one.
actor who's forgot his line, but he's also dying, which is
And
hilarious.
that's why they're in the dark.
Yeah, that's why they're all watching them. Yeah.
So it's like
That was
a
the whole.
performance.
They're able to play him off stage, as it were. It's just it's a,
Hindsight.
It was so strange at the time watching it because it just felt like a weird cult thing. Like they
It
just
did feel
stand
like
up
a-
out of
Yeah,
the
yeah.
dark, which I guess
They're all wearing
it still kind of
masks.
is. But yeah, yeah, it's like an eyes wide shut
Yeah,
thing
yeah.
where they come
Right,
up out
yeah.
of the dark.
Yeah,
they're
yeah.
all wearing
in
masks.
robes and they come out.
it's a very weird theater troupe.
Yes,
We must say.
and I get the feeling that, and this is probably way off base. I don't know, but it seems like maybe that guy has money or something. I don't know.
The man who died.
Yeah.
I don't think. I think he's just a member of their theater troupe who's ill.
Okay.
And as Brian
So
Cox put
why-
it, you have to be of use. And so,
So why the fuck is that one guy? Like, I mean, I guess maybe it's just because he's an attention whore or something. Like, why is Brian Cox so put off by that
know.
guy?
I don't think Bellegarde is just not on Brian Cox's or Jack LaGrish's wavelength. I get
Yeah.
that. I don't know if there's a
It
whole
might,
lot of.
might be just that they've spent too much time together and he's annoyed
He's
by
annoyed
him.
by him. Yeah.
I also think Bellegarde is close or a lover of the old man who's dying,
Yeah.
and he seems to be the one who's taking care of his blanket situation. Brian Cox, we see him more of Brian Cox, but I don't know. Bellegarde is, for whatever reason, too. Like Brian Cox does not like Bellegarde.
Yeah.
But this goes back to something that the theater troupe. How much should we say about the theater troupe? Like, can we say
During the episode or in
as regards the rest
history?
of as regards anything? Like, can we talk about what the use of the theater troupe overall in the season?
No,
I
not
would
yet,
think
because
no.
we're not at
Okay.
the
I
end
would
of the
think
season.
no. Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Historically, we can say that the theater performances were there from the very beginning in the real Deadwood,
Right.
and Jacqueline Grish was a big part of Deadwood.
And so that's his introduction into the show is like one of the missing pieces of
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
a more complete
late.
picture of
Yeah.
the show, yeah,
Yeah.
or of the town.
Yeah. I also like to say that Bullock, we talked about him being angry earlier. Later in the episode, he talks to the Earps and he tries to relate to the Earps.
Yeah.
And that's how the first time we see Wyatt Earp soften and be more like the Wyatt Earp we know.
That is one of the things that sticks with me from the show as a whole too. Is that exchange? You know, I tried taking off the badge once, and it like basically didn't stop me having the urge to beat on certain types.
Yeah.
And then Earp says that never seems to never go, or something like that. Yeah.
Which could be read as like, I want to kick your ass, but it could also be read as what it
Well, I
is.
think it just means that, like, you know, the badge
We share that.
gives you
Yeah.
license to do that.
Yeah.
You're going to want to beat on people and throw your weight around.
Yeah.
Do it lawfully.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know?
But like, it's weird that this is a world where everyone understands. Everyone's so full of rage that they can just relate on like that level. Like it's just like, yeah, I know. Yeah, he just met this man. He's like,
Right.
you know, I don't know.
That former lawmen are often co-opted into nefarious,
Yeah.
becoming hired guns
Yeah.
for bad dudes.
Yeah. Well, let's see.
Just like Bullock
Is that
has.
What else is there? What else was there?
I don't know if there's much else. Did we cover everything with Morgan and Wyatt? I guess we did. We could talk about Merrick threatening Hearst, or I mean Hearst threatening Merrick.
Oh, well, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of minor.
It's just
but
kind of a payoff from last episode
Yeah.
when they published the letter.
Right.
Hearst read it and took exactly what he was meant to from it,
and got pissed
confronted
off at the
Merrick
guy
about
who
it.
printed it.
Yeah.
So makes perfect sense.
Yep.
Yeah, and let's end on Steve and
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Hearst is so good at grilling people.
Yeah.
Like that's what he does is hold people's feet to the fire and draw them out,
Yep.
kind of thing. And that's what he did with, like he'll ask you questions and back you into a corner, until you state your business, kind of thing. And that was his whole thing. It's like that. What was it? It was like I saw you said 12 days until the election. Will you be further doing that with 10 days and 11 days and such? It's just
And then he also talks about the calendar marking down until Merrick gets injured by Hearst's hands.
Perhaps you should have a second calendar
Yeah.
for that.
And he's accusing Hearst of not being. I mean, Merrick is being accused of not being neutral,
Yes.
and Merrick isn't neutral in this
No,
count.
he's not.
But I mean,
But Merrick doesn't pretend to be neutral. He says that
No.
he keeps his opinions hidden.
yeah,
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah. But I mean, and also, if he could print what he wanted to, he would say Hearst is a threat. To
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Hearst would show up and do something, grip his throat out, or I don't know. I mean, he's a monster, so
Yeah.
eat his face.
Yeah.
Anyways, eat his face.
That was really fast.
No face, but what you make.
Yeah.